in chapter 6, and chapter 6 covers church attendance and fellowship within the Christian body. Now, as you guys are well aware, I'm sure you all have access to some sort of electronic device or a media device that the church has taken a lot of hits over the years. In particular, probably the last 15 to 20, maybe even longer. The Catholic Church started getting beat up, I remember, back in the 80s for different abuses, and then it flowed right over into the evangelical church too. I'm not saying that beating hasn't been deserved. I'm not saying that the sins that have been exposed did not need to be exposed. They did. They need to be addressed. We're not trying to sweep any of that under the rug. But what I am saying is that the media loves to take shots at the church. So whenever there's even a hint of impropriety, that goes out all over the news. And whatever the situation was, whether it was a church secretary skimming off the till, a pastor flirting with one of the women, the church choir director or whatever, or whomever is involved with some, anything. All that gets blown up out of proportion, and the guilty are crucified before they're even found guilty. And if there is any resolution to it, it's like on page 6, or down at the bottom. Oh yeah, by the way, this never really happened. So what that does is that vilifies the entire church. It doesn't matter so much if it's a Baptist church, a Methodist church, whatever the denomination or even non-denominational churches. When the church takes a black eye, we all feel the hit. I mean, everyone takes it. Even people have a hard time even distinguishing the difference between, say, a Catholic church and an evangelical church. Or even, it's to the point now, I think, that most people wouldn't even recognize the difference between a Mormon church and a Christian church, because if you remember when that one guy was running for president, everybody said, well, it's a Christian faith. No, it's not. When all those things kind of compile, like I said, the church is vilified. And even on a smaller scale, a more personal scale, if you will, we turn people off of church too. Christians do. And it's, I don't want to say deserved so much, but sometimes it is, because we are hypocritical. And we're not willing to say, well, yeah, it's, like I've said 100 times up there, it's okay for me to sin, but not for one. And we treat people that way a lot of times. And it's not just God that sees through us. The whole world sees through us too when we act like that. When we're got the ichthus fish on the back bumper of our car, and Jesus saves on the bumper sticker, and we're waving at people with just one finger as we're driving around. When that sort of stuff's going on, it reflects poorly on the church. It reflects poorly on the people of the church, and it gives an unsaved person a reason not to go to church. Matter of fact, it gives a saved person a reason not to go to church. There are many people I've met over the years that said, oh, I'm saved, I love the Lord, blah, blah, blah. It's just his people drive me crazy. Oh, yeah, they probably can. I don't go to church because of all the hypocrites. How many times you guys heard that? I don't go to church because everybody at church is so judgmental. It's not so much that people are judgmental when they get, at church. It's just somebody new walks in and everybody looks over at them, and everybody looks over at them. They're like, why is everybody looking at me? They must know all about me. They must know that, I was in the tank last night and I still smell like, a bar. No, not necessarily, but you have that guilty conscience, so that, they don't want to come to church. And Christians have a tendency to destroy their own. Let's think about this for a minute. How many times throughout church history has Christians killed other Christians? Well, that didn't happen much. Oh yeah, it has. It's happened all throughout church history. Martin Luther, Tyndale, Whitefield. We can go on, we can go through the entire book of Fox's Book of Martyrs and find a lot of times where it was the church that done the persecuting. And all that leads us up to, I think someday Jesus is going to ask, why do you guys shut the doors of heaven? I opened them wide up. y'all shut them up. I mean, if somebody new was to walk in, how would we act? How would we react? Here we're pretty friendly. I think, actually, real friendly. But in a lot of churches, if somebody new walks in the back door, they get this. Now, if somebody new walks in the back door, and they're wearing jeans, and everybody else has slacks on, or dresses, then they're definitely going to get the eyeball. That's just ridiculous. I mean, why would we turn away someone? And it's not just the way people are dressed. It's also, sometimes they're a little rough looking. You know, they need a shave.
That's lame.
Maybe their hair isn't combed real well. Or maybe they have a handicap. I mean, maybe they come in a wheelchair. Or they have walking sticks. Or maybe their skin's a little darker. You know, you wouldn't want that. Now would you? And it's that sort of stuff that shuts people away from the church, and it gives them just cause, if you will, to say, you know what, I ain't going back. Problem is, we shoot ourselves in the foot with that. Jesus clearly taught us that we are to reach and teach. This is where the teaching takes place. The reaching takes place out there. The teaching takes place in here. If somebody's been reached, then we need to teach them here. I was trying to think and make sure, is that reached and taught, or taught and I'm trying to make sure I have my verbs right there. So, as you can see, you can come up with any excuse to not go to church. Now let's break it down to a personal level. I don't want to go to church today because I have the sniffles.
Can I give you one?
Oh, sure. Okay, give me one.
One guy that was coming here, hasn't come for quite a while, but I was told the reason he was coming, I asked one person in particular, I says, you know, on the mission you took, she was afraid to come because he was coming.
She was afraid to come because he was coming. Okay. Afraid of somebody in the church? That's ridiculous. You shouldn't be.
Yeah, well, he had an alcohol problem,
Yeah.
and they was afraid of him, supposedly.
That.
But
That
that's a
could
good
cause fear.
excuse.
Yep. Now, what about a lame excuse? Can you guys come up with some lame excuses why you don't go to church? Why
What?
people wouldn't? A lame excuse, something that's just weak.
They're too tired.
Too tired. I was up too late Saturday night.
The game's on today.
The game's on today. Yeah, there's some good. The only day I get to sleep in. Very good. I like that one.
Why didn't you sleep in on Saturday?
She has to work on Saturday morning.
Has to work on Saturday mornings. Yep, and go to work. Yep. Hebrews 10:24 says, "And let us consider one another, we may stir up love and good works." So when I read that, I have to ask myself a couple questions. What does it mean to consider one another? Well, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, to consider means to think carefully about, to regard as, to take into account. And how often do we really do that with someone? How often do we really take into account, or to regard, or to carefully consider another person? I mean, we all live busy lives, and wouldn't that take time? Time we don't necessarily have? Maybe it would cost us a measure of care that we really don't have much of. It's harsh. But how many times do people shake your hand and say, "How you doing?" And you know they really don't care. And to be honest, when they do ask, how many of us would really answer honestly? I'm good. You just don't want to spend that time and energy investing into other people, or to have other people invest into us as well. So each time we're short, if you will, with others, we're obviously in clear violation of what it teaches us here in Hebrews. Next question. Well, don't we all have our own problems? Next, right there it is. Why are we to consider one another? Why? What would be the biblical principle as to why. And it answers it right there in that verse. It says to stir up good works. Or stir up love and good works. Stir up love and good works. We're all familiar with somebody who stirs up trouble. We all know what a pot stirrer looks like. We're all adults. We've all worked and had a job, and we all know what it's like to have to work with that one person that does nothing but just stir the kettle. They love disruption and discontent. But how many of us know someone who stirs up love and good works? To stir up love and good works, it's someone who is very involved and been gifted with the ministry of encouragement. It's that ministry that encourages. And to encourage simply means to impart courage. You're giving someone what they need to move forward, to have the courage to go forward. That ministry of encouragement is one that is extremely necessary, and more often than not, you're only going to find it at church. You may find it outside the church, but what you may find outside of church, or outside, apart from a Christian, is a superficial little thing. It'll be some pop psychology. The encouragement that we can offer is encouragement for this life because of abiding in Christ, and encouragement for the next life in heaven because of our presence in Christ at that point. And how many of us could use encouragement? How many of us could use a little bit of encouragement today? Well, I think we all could. I mean, that was the list of prayer requests just from Sunday school. So, since we reap what we sow, if we sow encouragement, do you think that's what we'll reap eventually? Sure we will. And from Hebrews 10:24 goes on, it's one sentence, 25 starts out, not forsaking the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some, but exhorting one another, insomuch as more as you see the day, capital D, day, approaching. So let's break this down a little bit here into three sections. Not forsaking of yourself, or the forsaking of the assembling of yourselves together. Got a couple illustrations for that we're going to go over here shortly. But that second section, I'm going to take it on first. But exhorting one another. What is exhortation? What is exhortation or exhort? It means to urge strongly, admonish, give advice, or appeal. Then the Bible dictionary, Strong's Greek dictionary, says to call near, invite, invoke, by importation or beseech, call for. In the Bible, another Bible dictionary says that it is the act of presenting such motive before a person as to excite them to performance or to duty. This is exhorting. It's like encouragement on steroids. If that's the way you want to look at it. It is strongly encouraging people to do something, to do that which they need to do. Now, we all lose motivation from time to time. There's no shame in saying that, my faith's wavering. I've lost motivation in ministry. It happens. It happens to every single person. And by the assembling of ourselves together, we then have that opportunity to encourage one another and to exhort one another and to compel one another to continue on in either the ministry we're in or to come alongside and take over that portion of ministry to give that person a break. That's what it's talking about here. That's why we come together. And yes, it does get difficult, and yes, we need each other. But it's in those times that when we are together, that we can encourage and exhort and lift each other up. Now, there was a time, a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, that I just started learning how to teach. Just given a men's ministry, said, all right, it's all yours, take it over, right? Get busy with it. And I was really pouring myself into those lessons for that men's group. I spent hours and hours and hours, and I'm still working a 50, 60-hour week. And after all that effort, you know what happened? I had weeks in a row where nobody would show up. I'd even go out and buy donuts and have coffee and donuts and everything ready for the guys when they got there. Make breakfast.
Can you do a women's group and have the donuts and coffee? Or I
Have
don't
the
think
donuts
that's
and
coffee,
coffee?
but I mean,
And you know what happened? After a couple weeks of that, I got mad. I got real mad. I was like, you know what? Why am I even bothering? So I didn't bother. We still have the meeting, but I didn't put any effort into it. Why should I put any effort into it? I mean, nobody's gonna show up half the time, and when they are there, they're late or just there for the donuts. I mean, every time people actually came in, ate the donuts, drank some coffee, socialized a little bit, and hey, I gotta go, I got golf. And that really made me mad when some of the guys left to go golfing. It's like, seriously? But I was at church, and somebody else was talking over there, but I was back when my hearing was better and I could hear over there. Someone was asking somebody else, why do you do the ministry that you do? And then they, explained it to them, and then they said, would you do it if no one showed up? I go, would I still do this? So I had to ask myself that, would I still do it if nobody showed up? And then they asked them a simple question, who are you ministering for? Or to? Well, that's a different sort of question. They said, are you ministering to people or to Christ? Is it for people, for yourself, or for Christ? And that, of course, was a well-deserved kick in the pants. Because I'd gotten to the point that I just honestly really didn't care. Whether that group sank, swam, or failed. Then I had to remember that it doesn't matter who shows up or how many show up on each given, at that point it was a Saturday ministry, that as long as I was there and prepared, the Lord saw that effort. Now, I wouldn't have come to that knowledge, I wouldn't have come to that understanding if I hadn't been at church. If I'd given completely up and if I hadn't showed up, that would have never happened. In the last section, and so much more as you see the day approaching. And that day that it's talking about there is the day of the Lord. We know through our study that we've been through on the end times that violence is going to increase. Families are going to become more and more fractured. The love of many is going to grow cold, and many people are going to fall away from sound doctrine. That is why church attendance is so important, because it counterreacts all three of those things. It gives us a place to go to where we can help each other, encourage, exhort one another to move forward and to move on, to be able to make sense of all that's going on around us. It gives us an opportunity to see Jesus and to see who he really is. And the importance of church attendance. I've got two illustrations, but we're about out of time, so I think I'm going to just do one up real short like. And this one I've already used. I used it actually last week. You guys have all seen how a predator takes prey, correct? All seen it on Animal Planet, right? Pack of wild dogs in Africa, they wear the antelope down, chasing down. But what happens first? They have to pick one out, don't they? And which one they pick out? They pick out the weak, the old, and the infirm. Or the young. Same thing happens with our adversary, the devil. He's roaring around like a lion, seeking someone whom he may devour. So why the weak? The weak are those that have never learned sound doctrine. They're wishy-washy in their faith. They're easy prey because they're weak in faith. The old. Well, that's not very nice to call old people old, and that they're weak in their faith. Well, no, they're not weak in their faith, but what they are is discouraged. They're physically not as able as what they used to be or capable. Think about how many elderly people deal with the fact that they have no friends left. Church doesn't look the same as what it used to back when they were in church. They become disenfranchised. That makes them easy prey. The young. The young, of course, are weak. We see that all the time when teenagers. If they don't have that solid foundation, they'll wander away from the faith every single time. And they continue to do so. so. The infirm. Did I get the infirmed already? Can't remember.
No.
Someone who's sick. If you are physically sick, you're spiritually sick as well. Like, huh? No, if you're physically sick, you're emotionally sick, and you're spiritually sick. They all work together, because if you are drained and not well, it drains everything out of you. So that makes us easy prey. Those are the things that will make a person easy to pick off, if you will. But when we are together, we have an opportunity to strengthen those who are weak, those who are elderly, those who are young. Because what we do is we encourage and exhort one another, and we pray for one another. We love each other. That's why it's so important that we're here. I'm not saying that this is the perfect church and it's the most excellent a church will ever be. That is not the case. We will not go to that church service until Jesus is preaching it and leading the choir and everything going on in heaven.
All right.
Everybody in the church is imperfect. We all are. We all have our bad days. But remember, love and like are two different things. We can love each other and still not like each other some days. If you've been married for more than 5 minutes, you completely understand how that works, because there are days that Mindy's just mean and I don't like her because she's scared. But I still love her. See, she's eyeballing me right now and I'm intimidated. And I know for a
Quit shaking your
fact
head, or you're gonna
there
be
are
walking.
days that I am not that livable
I got
with.
the keys.
That it is difficult to live with me. But she still loves me. Mostly because I do dishes.
Honey, if you do dishes, I might love you more.
I might love you more. No, that would be more like. I might like you more.
Yes, I might like you more.
Any questions of why it's important to attend? Any
Good answer,
questions?
Bruce.
All
Good
right.
answer, Bruce.